turn to the open debate. Speeches of 4 minutes, please, and I call George Adam to be followed by Malcolm Chisholm.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I thank David Stewart for bringing this to the Chamber. The reason I want to talk about this is participate in this debate is for two very practical reasons, and it's not just about the educational psychologists. I think some of the points brought up by Mr Stewart are quite accurate in so much that there are quite a number of families having to deal with members of the family with learning difficulties and being autistic within the autistic scale. And from my own reason is I've got ongoing constituency cases where Renfrewshire Education Authority are letting my constituents down in this case. Things like not actually giving support to autistic young people who have timetables, not actually almost giving them an empty timetable because they don't have the support there. And I think this is something that local authorities should be looking at one another and looking at themselves to see how do they actually deliver and support these families. And I'm also coming from very personal reasons. As a father of a son who has learning difficulties, now he's now 23, but us as a family had to go through some of the situation that many families are still going through at this stage as well. So I would say that in my case in Renfrewshire, the issues have been there for a long time in the local authority, and the difficulties that families face now are very similar to the difficulties that we faced then as well. And I think the local authorities would have to say, are they supporting families and young people enough in this case? You know, educational psychologists are extremely important and they're there to support the learners, but I do believe that the Additional Support Act does give the opportunity to enable parents and young people to request the Education Authority to arrange for a child or young person to have an assessment. And it's up for that particular education authority to decide who is the appropriate person to a particular process to actually deal with that assessment. Now, as a parent and as a parliamentarian and representative of the people of Paisley, we, them and myself don't care who makes the decision and who actually does it. We just need the support to make sure that that family and that child gets the opportunity to go forward. And I think when we're talking about this, we have to talk in partnership. Us working along with the Scottish Government, working as it does with local authorities to ensure that we can deliver that, because in a lot of cases I'm finding at constituent level that families just don't seem to be getting that support from when their children have special needs. And as I say, this has been an ongoing issue, both in the past and in the present as well. And when you have to look at, we have to make sure that we support these families, because I'm aware that some local authorities, there's been issues in other parts where we have BSL teachers being able to help classes in primary schools and ensuring that deaf children have the opportunity to engage fully with their classes. And I think this is a perfect example, because some local authorities, like one of the Ayrshire ones, actually have pooled, or the Ayrshire authorities have pooled their resources to make sure that they can actually find out the area where they need to put these professionals in. And it's one of the things that came up when we, as the Education Committee currently this year, looked at the budget, and we looked at the fact that how we're delivering secondary and primary school education. And one of the problems that kept coming out was the joint working and joint services with local authorities just wasn't happening. They weren't actually working together to do these type of things. Now, I would think in this case, in order to work with local authorities, I would think the best way for them would be for them to work with one another to find if there are areas and districts that have a higher incidence of children or young people who have learning difficulties or need that extra support, so that they can actually put that support into that local authority. And I think it's another example of how local authorities could possibly work better and smarter with one another, as opposed to just looking at it. So on that, in closing, Presiding Officer, I would just like to say I welcome this debate, but it's not quite as simple as the motion itself puts. It's quite complex and there's a lot involved here. And I think we should maybe work with local authorities to try and help them, but they as well must take responsibility for some of the services that they offer.
Thank you.